All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. How are you? How you doing? I wonder how you doing. I always find it interesting, not just with this book, but certainly in the work that I do. Just observing people as they go through the process, and it was interesting to watch the WhatsApp chat, this group. So it kind of things were quieting down about halfway through the book. I don't know if you noticed the structure or if you notice the design that's in the book. Remember I said you experience the book and let the book work on you. So I don't know if anybody's been noticing something that's happening, but there's a very specific design in this book, the way I laid it all out. Some of you may be seeing it, noticing it. Some of you might be feeling something and you don't like it. But just trust me, it's all going the way it's supposed to be going. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for listening in. But just in observing the WhatsApp chat, and then of course I check out the YouTube where the videos are posted to kind of see how many people are watching the videos, and it's interesting to see it tapering off. It's pretty standard, right? Early on, everybody's gung ho and really engage, and then it tapers off for all kinds of different reasons, right? This may not be for you, it might not resonate with you, or usually what it is, it's causing some real discomfort. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about the resistance that we feel, because you're all experiencing resistance. And then you become very resistant to what I'm trying to do for you. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about this. And I want to, of course, go through the chapters from where we left off last Tuesday. And then again, as always, I want to hear from you. And what are you observing? What are you noticing? What can I help you with? Maybe you need some help with something that you're dealing with as you're going through the book, or maybe you have questions, whatever. For me, I want to open it up for a dialogue with you, because this is for you too. It's not just for me. Before we start that, though, I wanted to draw a link in the chat. I'm gonna share. You're gonna get an email about an hour from now in your inbox. If you don't see it, just check your junk mail or your spam folder. But I'm just dropping a link here for you. This is a link for those of you that would like to join me in the book launch team. And I do need, they say it takes a village. I do need help from people to get the word. I'm not connected enough, strong enough to just think that I can do it all by myself. But more importantly, I wanted to, I guess, implore you to help people. I mentioned in the email, I was doing some research on some stats, and I happened to come across, it's the United States website, the CDC, Center for Disease Control. And it was a 2019 study, so not very old. And I don't know if I didn't know this. I thought it was around 50%. 60% of adults have endured some form of they call it ACE, adverse childhood experience. Okay, so 60% of adults have had some adverse childhood experience, which includes all the different abuse, emotional, physical, sexual, witness to some violence, some maltreatment or mistreatment. 25% have experienced 3 or more of those. It contributes to actually people dying from people that go through ACEs are more likely to die from the top 10 killers. And it shortens your life by 19 years on average. Like, I was shocked when I read that, And I thought, and I'm not just about, people that are suffering like I did as a child. I think people are suffering for all kinds of reasons. And obviously the book, I'm trying to get people to understand, why they feel the way they feel about themselves and why they're in conflict and why they have this tension and resistance and what's going on. One of the chapters that really hit people hard is stop hiding. I was hiding, and a lot of you have been hiding or are hiding. And so I need help in terms of getting the word out. So the book is released. I got the hard copy here. It just came. Look at that. Love it. It's got like the lettering's even raised and everything. It's a beautiful book. It did such a good job on the cover. Anyway, you'll probably get a notice shortly, if you haven't already, that the book is being shipped on April the 4th. So it'll arrive soon. And so we're going to put a big push on the week of the 3rd, which is, I guess, a week this Monday. And so I'd like to invite you or ask you if you'd be willing to help get the word out. That link in the chat basically takes you to a simple little page where you can just put in your email address. And it's not going to take you a lot of time. It's not going to take you a lot of effort. We're going to give you everything. Basically, what I'm asking you to do is to share the book through social media. We'll give you all the posts. We'll give you all the graphics. All you got to do is basically copy and paste, grab an image and post it. Make up your own post if you want. Feel free to be creative. And if you have an email list, we're going to give you emails. You can send that out as well. And throughout the week of the launch, I'll be with you the whole way every day. So if that's something that motivates you, inspires you, if you feel there's somebody in your life that needs to know what's in this book, I'd sure appreciate you signing on for that and helping me get the word out. Just to let you know, we had a 4th call scheduled next Tuesday. And I had to move that. I got to get on a plane and fly to New York. I've got a television appearance on Wednesday. Yes. And I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to be a big deal. So I've got to move the call. So I moved the call till a week tomorrow, I think 11 a.m. And we'll also use that time for the book launch team kickoff. So give you all the instructions, everything that you need. And I thought, I'm going to, I decided with Tyson yesterday that I want to spend some more time with you if you want me to. And so I'd like to, carry on beyond these initial sort of 4 calls as you come to the end of the book and keep spending some more time with you, if that's okay. So we'll do a few more calls and I'm going to invite you and thanks, Angie, for signing up. That's great. I'll invite you into more. I'm just so passionate, obviously, about what's in this book. It's not so much the book I'm excited about. I'm excited about what's in the book because I'm seeing it help people, and that's all I wanted it to do. I wanted a book that actually freaking worked, and it is working. It's working on you. It's working in you. It's interesting to see God show up this week and kind of stir the pot a little bit with a few of you. That was kind of fun to see. I love how he shows up and just kind of, makes a mess of things for people. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that with some of the chapters. So let me just go through some of the chapters with you and stay with us. I'd love to hear from you. So I think we left off last time. We were on chapter 11 or chapter 10 is where we finished off, I think, if I've got that correct. Is that right? Am I on track? Should be. I think so. Yeah, that's right. 11. Because we're on. I'm trying to basically cover since last week's call. Okay, let me just fly through this. So chapter 11 was really a game changer for me. And I've mentioned to some of you heard this before. The book, The 4 Agreements, literally saved my life. And I became fiercely committed to adopting those 4 agreements and replacing all the old agreements I had, because I had a lot of dumb agreements. I made up a lot of agreements with myself. I adopted a lot of agreements, and it's no wonder I struggled. And so when he said, "Hey, listen, you've been literally domesticated like a dog. You were rewarded if you were good, and you were punished if you're bad." And I have a beautiful dog, River, and I thought about the 4 agreements when we were training him. He's a beautiful dog, very well trained. And the author, Don Miguel Ruiz, who I quote at the beginning of the chapter here, he said, literally you took on this auto domestication. You were domesticated and then you took it on and you automatically started making up your own agreements. He said, replace all your agreements with these 4 and you'll be free. And that was a wonderful promise because I was struggling. And so the biggest one for me was not taking anything personally. And so I am still fiercely committed to that. And I don't let anybody put anything onto me to try to get me to take your junk personally. I will not let you try to make me feel badly about some agreement you have, and you're judging me through that agreement. I will listen to you and I will take responsibility, but it's not a carte blanche thing where I just automatically take it personally. And by practicing that, then I switch to, I'm not going to take my abuse personally. I'm not going to take it personally what I went through. And I say it in the chapter, it didn't happen because of me. It just simply happened to me. And like I said, I was shocked the other day, 60% of people, it's happened to them, but it's not about them, you know? And so that was a real pivoting point for me, just not taking anything personally of what had happened to me, what I had done because of what happened to me, because of course I carry around a lot of guilt and resentment and shame and all that stuff, right? And then not letting other people dump stuff on me where I was taking that personally as well. So the chapter called it wasn't because of me. So whatever you've been through, it's not because of you. Whatever you're going through, it's not because of you. You're just going through it. Okay. Now, you might be causing yourself some problems. And that's likely because you've got some agreements that you've made and you've kept. One of them would be you keep carrying around shame, guilt, and resentment. That's an agreement. Yeah, you know, I really feel like crap and life is really heavy, but I'm just going to keep carrying this bag of rocks around, you know? And you get tired and you get depressed. Who wouldn't get tired and depressed when you're carrying all these rocks around, you know? So you might still have some agreements you got to let go of. Chapter 12 is called I've Had Enough. So I finally I got sick of myself. I got fed up. You know, it was like, enough is enough. You know, I thought, for such a, you know, I used to say, I'm not that bright, which that was kind of self-effacing. I'm actually very bright. I'm very intelligent. But I used to say, I'm not that bright. I'd kind of joke about it and stuff. And so I thought, all right, Doug, you're obviously fairly intelligent, because despite not having any education at all, I mean, I barely made it into grade 10, quit high school 3 times. Obviously, I must have some level of intelligence to get to where I've gotten in life and do what I've done, and, you know, get through what I've gone through. And so I'm going, as an intelligent man, a grown man, I was not acting very smart, you know, and clearly my way wasn't working. Now, ego is a funny thing, you know, that psyche, that false self, the enemy, it really loves to mess with us, you know. And it likes to keep you drifting. It likes to keep you off track. Likes to keep you off balance, you know. And I got enough of this. I just got fed up. As I remember, I've got this beautiful backyard. I went to the patio one night and I sat there. It was a beautiful summer night. I said, all right, Doug, and I'm speaking out loud. I go, all right, Doug, enough is enough. And I replayed this conversation the next morning on a call. I used to do a 6 a.m. call with people every morning, a little reading club. And I got on the call and I told them the story. I said, you know what? I said, I just got fed up. Enough is enough. I'm going to get tough with myself. I'm going to demand more of myself, but I'm not going to be hard on myself. And about an hour later, Jessica was her name. She sends me an image. I just quoted Doug Dane. She made this quote up, and it's in the book, you know. And so I think you got to get to some level of indignation. You got to go, like, enough is enough. They say, I have a client of mine, she's the CEO of a women's shelter here in this area where I live. And we were talking about the recidivism rate of women. She goes, Doug, we have grandchildren that are grown women coming in, 3rd generation abuse victims coming in here, right? And we were just talking about why people, men or women, it's not just women, men or women stay in abusive relationships. You stay in an abusive relationship to the degree that you think you deserve it. And so you've got to get indignant. Look that word up. Indignation is a good word. You got to get indignant. You got to get a little pissed off and go, enough is enough. Now that's an adult-like response. A childlike response, oh, poor me, you know. Oh, you don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand how hard it is, you know. I was acting, one of the chapters in the book's called Grow Up. I was acting like a kid way too much. And so we've really got to get serious about this. And so the action step tells you, get out your pen, list all the things in your life where it's time to say, I've had enough. So can you think of one of those things? Can you guys think of one thing you've had enough? Can anybody think of one? You can? Write it down. Go, that's it. I've had enough. I'm done. And I ask you, for each one that's on your list, ask yourself, am I compromising myself? Yes or no? Chances are you are, which goes to your self-worth, goes to all kinds of different things. And then just pick one thing you can do today to take charge of and act on. Don't worry about the whole list, but start knocking the list down. Start whittling the list down one by one by one. Start with something small and easy. You'll be surprised how much power and momentum you gain by doing this. Okay. Chapter 13 is one of my favorite chapters. Stop shooting on yourself. Louise Hay, I put a quote in here with her. You've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. That's not a bad. I could have just left the chapter with her quote. That would have said enough. I mean, that's such a great quote, right? And so I open the chapter. You need to lighten up and you need to smarten up. And we just give ourselves way too hard of a time. You should do this. You should do that. You shouldn't do this. You should. And you should on yourself. Now, I always say this. It's not your fault. You just learn to do it, right? Your parents did it. Your teachers do it. Your friends did it. You should. And for a lot of us, the bar that got set for us, the rules, values, beliefs, the standards, they were always changing. Just when you got close to meeting the bar, somebody moved the frickin' bar on you, and you never felt like you measured up. Right. And then they say, you should. So obviously that creates more inner conflict and it creates self-doubt and you start, thinking there's something wrong with you because you can feel how it feels. And so of course, shoulding all comes from judgment, and it creates this notion of shame. And so we've got to, I just made that term up, shoulding. When I first told the publisher about the chapter, I go, what do you mean by shoulding? I've never heard that before. Well, it's like shitting on yourself, but it's called shoulding, right? You're shitting on yourself by shoulding on yourself. And so we've got to stop doing that. But again, realize that we're learning to do this. So what we're now doing in the book is I'm now getting you kind of take a look at, first off, the first part of the book was understand this mistaken identity. Now we're kind of getting in to taking a bit of an inventory on what your mistaken identity is doing to you or what your programming and your conditioning, your upbringing has done to you. Okay. So again, it's a wonderful idea. You just keep saying, hey, it's not my fault. Right. But it doesn't end there. You can't just abdicate responsibility. Okay. It's not your fault. You learn to do it. It's no wonder you're thinking and doing and feeling the way you're feeling or hiding like you're hiding, whatever you're doing. Because you learn to do that, but now you got to take responsibility. And so take an inventory of how you should on yourself and just start paying attention. Did anybody should anybody today? Any of you should on anybody today? Some of you did. Yeah, you probably did. Maybe you didn't use the word you should, but you might have been thinking about somebody, they should do a better job. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't. Right. And so again, it's a form of judgment. It comes out that way. You're being judged and people say you should, and you shouldn't. And so we have to stop shoulding on ourselves. Chapter 14, it was just more of a personal story. For me, it's called Things Were Delicate. I had these people in my life, teachers, primarily, that saw something in me or saw what was going on for me when I was little. And then as I was getting a little bit older, I mentioned the book, since we're talking about the book, I think of my grade 10 English teacher. That was one. I got into grade 10 math and grade 10 English. Those were the two courses. Everything else was still grade 9 credits. And Mr. Feeney was my English teacher, and I didn't go very often. I missed a lot of classes, but he just kept encouraging me. And here I write this book with I didn't finish grade 10 English. I quit the first semester. So I didn't graduate from, I don't know if you graduate from grade 10, but I did not complete grade 10. I quit before Christmas. And here I've written this book. And I'm a good writer, you know? Somebody said, did you write that yourself? I go, I did. The publisher got to go, did you write that yourself? I did. Didn't take a lot of editing, right? And so Mr. Feeney, you know, he saw something in me, and he challenged me, and he encouraged me, and he treated me kindly. He didn't know what was going on, but he knew something was going on, you know? Of course, you know, my greatest mentor would have been Bob Proctor, who not only did he teach me a lot, but he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And I felt something. He picked up on it. He believed in it. He saw it in me, and he was able to, you know, guide me and mentor me until I believe that I started to act upon it. And so I think we all have these people in our lives that have made an impact on us. And oftentimes as teachers, you know, sometimes I often will think of these teachers, Mr. Auld in grade 5, I think it was, and Mr. Hanna, he's passed away. But I think of these people, and you probably do the same. There's probably teachers that impacted you. There's somebody that's impacted you, and it'd be a good idea to go back and you know, send them a letter. Even if they're not alive, write them a letter anyway. Just thank those delicate lilies along your path that saw something in you, because anybody that had influence over you, had some level of awareness, you know, whether it was a teacher or, you know, a counselor or somebody like that, they saw good in you, and they would have pointed it out to you, and they probably were right. You know, they probably were right. Especially when you're younger, it's a lot easier to see potential in younger people, because we don't cover it up as much as when we're young. You know, the older we get, the thicker the layers of the mask get. You know, we hide a lot more the older that we get, which is ironic. I think actually you finally get to a stage in life where you just don't give a shit. Sometimes for people, it takes way too long. You know, it might be the last year of your life or something. I think when you're dying, you don't really give a shit what anybody thinks, you know, at that point, you know. But I don't think you should wait that long. You know, I think you can come alive sooner and live longer. Chapter 15 is, we did talk about this. I'm having a deja vu here. Did we talk about this last week? Don't make stuff up. I can't remember. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt for repetition. Chapter 15 is don't make stuff up. I love this quote. It's sad that we never get trained to leave assumptions behind. We get trained to make assumptions, definitely. And we definitely don't get trained to leave assumptions behind. Because those assumptions create drama in our imagination. We make up all kinds of stories. Now, this is a personal story. I've not shared this with too many people, but what the hell? I was dating a woman, and we were kind of on again, off again, you know. And it was one of those relationships where I thought I was in love, and whenever I thought I was really in love with somebody, I was really insecure. You know, if you love me more than I loved you, I was very secure and confident. But if I really loved you and I wasn't sure if you loved me, I was very insecure. So this was one of those relationships. And you know, she had problems as a young woman with some you know, reproductive system, internal organs, different things, and so she was, you know, dealing with some health issues. Anyway, she had a doctor's appointment, and yeah, she should have been out. I remember I was at my house where I was living at the time, and I hadn't heard from her. And, you know, we would always be in touch by text fairly regularly. And, you know, you have those read receipts on your phone. You can see if they've read the message. Well, I couldn't hear from her. I couldn't get a hold of her. I was phoning her, and what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? And anyway, you should have seen the story I made up in my head. it took me about 15 minutes to go from 0 to 100 in my imagination. So the beginning was I was worried about her. Then I was thinking, she's not calling me back because there's bad news. Something's wrong. That accelerated to, it must be something that I did. Anyway, by the time my imagination was over and this train of causation was running so friggin' fast in my head, I had basically come to the conclusion that I must have given her AIDS and she was diagnosed. I don't have AIDS. I've never had AIDS. I've never had an STD, but this is where my mind went, right? And I'm sweating, right? My gut, like, oh my God, it's the funniest example that I laugh at myself now of how my assumptions ran away like crazy. I was already insecure as it was. Well, this is a pretty wild train ride I went on. And that's what happens. These assumptions create this drama, right? And the drama creates thoughts and emotions. And those emotions hit your physical state, right? And then it's almost like you're creating your own trauma through your assumptions. So trauma is basically the result of something that's happened to you. Okay. Trauma isn't something that happens to you. It's a result of something that happens to you. Okay. Well, we create our own trauma. I was very traumatized after that. I was very uncomfortable. I was very scared. Right. And so we can basically create a traumatic event through our assumptions, and it gets locked into our subconscious, and it can really get in our way. Right. So this comes from the 4 agreements of don't make assumptions. It's the 3rd agreement. Don't make assumptions, because when you make assumptions, you create needless drama. Have the courage to ask questions and get the answers so you have clarity. Well, as it turns out, when I finally got a hold of her, her phone had died and she didn't have a charger. And by the time she got home from errands and different things, I had already pretty much died in my mind by that point. It was all made up in my head, and I finally got the answer. And at first I was embarrassed to tell the story because I was so insecure in the relationship. But then I finally told the story one time and we laughed about it, And so it's like a train, it just creates this train of thought. So I don't know what train of thought you're on or what train of thought you get on, but it's like, stop this train. I need to get the hell off. All right. So we got to practice having the courage to ask questions so we don't make assumptions. Now, why don't we ask those questions? Because we're insecure. We're afraid of what people think. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? Are they going to judge us? We're afraid of conflict. We're generally, most of us, they don't do conflict resolution in high school. Okay. They don't even do it in university unless you really take a special course to deal in conflict resolution. In fact, I don't know, maybe they have them now, but even in business for 25 years, you had to go take a special course on conflict resolution. I think everybody should take a course on conflict resolution because life is filled with conflict. If you don't deal with conflict, you create drama, you make assumptions, you judge, you do all kinds of things. We got to get comfortable with conflict. Conflict is a good thing, right? It clears the air. It builds confidence in you by dealing with the conflict, right? So in this chapter, I kind of get you to ask, what's off track in your life? What's going wrong? What assumptions are you making that keep driving the runaway train? And what do you need to ask to find out if you're on the right track or on the wrong track? I was talking to somebody today, a client, and she said, my intuition's picking up. She was talking about a situation, a person, and my intuition's picking up, and she was asking some questions. And I said, stop asking questions. The fact that you're asking questions, your intuition knows something's off track, or you wouldn't be asking questions. If you're asking questions about something in your mind, chances are your intuition is saying something's off track. Okay. And so we got to make sure we stay on the right track. Chapter 16 this is where God starts to show up in my life and in the book. And so the story, again, another personal story of when I first got the message I was going to be a father, because I didn't think I was going to be a father. I didn't want to be a father. I was the story had come out in 2001. Well, it came out in 2000 through counseling, and that process of putting my whole story together. It went public in 2001, April 2001, and then my daughter Eden was born in May of 2003. So 2 years later. Well, in that 2-year period, I didn't want to be a father, because now that I had the story, there was some looming questions. Would I perpetuate the cycle? Would I become an alcoholic like my parents? Would I abuse my children, if I had kids? And so I was really resistant to the idea. But at the same time, I love children, and I was very good with children. I connected with them easily. And so there was a real battle going on inside, because my story and, all that evidence, and I remember of the story coming out, there was people in my life that were, and even after my daughter was born, when they knew my story, some parents of children that were friends with Eden, some people had some concerns. They never said them to me directly, but it got to me third party. They were concerned that this Doug Dane guy, I don't know, should our kid be around him? And that's not their fault. I mean, it didn't bother me. It bothered me in the context that, all right, I got there's some attention I need to pay here. And anyway, there's the stories in the book of I'm just walking along and I look up at the sun and whoosh, I get a message. Doug, you're going to be a father. And it was a long weekend in May. I was leaving for Vancouver, British Columbia on a business trip. I remember sitting top of the Fairmont Waterfront Hotel in downtown Vancouver, British Columbia. I was up in the pool, beautiful sunny day, and I was getting all these messages, right? Now, I didn't know where the messages were coming from, but I was getting these messages like whoosh, whoosh, buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. And then I got home, and Eden's mom, who I was dating at the time, this was not planned. We were on again, off again, and we got together for a weekend to try to see if we could put it back together. And I guess that's when Eden was conceived. I come home and she was crapping her pants because she found out she was pregnant. She was scared. And I was so calm. I go, everything's fine. I'm moving in, da, 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 da. And I had it all laid. I just laid out a game plan. And I just had this calmness of mind, and anyway, I have a beautiful daughter. So that was that story. What I asked you to do is, and this was hard for some of you, write a letter from God to you. Let God tell you all the beautiful, wonderful things he sees in you. Because God was, the Father was telling me I was going to be a father. That's where the message came from. And I went with that message. And then I also say, why don't you write a letter to yourself and apologize to yourself and reassure yourself that the broken person inside of you is okay. And this might be hard for some of you, but I'm telling you, some of these exercises will put resistance up for you. So let's talk about that real quick here. You've been living in conflict for most of your life. Okay. If you're not operating in integrity with your integrity, it creates conflict. Okay. If you're judgmental, it creates conflict, because that's not our nature. It's not in our nature to be judgmental. Okay. It creates conflict. If you suffered some form of childhood experience that was wrong, that creates conflict. Okay, we have all these things that create conflict in us, and we become conflicted. People go, I'm conflicted. On one hand I feel this way, and on the other hand I feel that way. Sometimes I feel this way, and sometimes I feel that way. Maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that. My first thought is this. My second thought is that, and we're in conflict. And of course, that conflict creates tension in our life. It shows up in our emotions. It shows up in our physical body. And it also shows up in the way that we interact with people. You know, those people that just, you can feel the tension. You know, you can feel their energy, their anger, whatever it is. You can feel it. And so we have a lot of conflict. And what I'm having you do with this book now is I'm having you undo and let go of this mistaken identity. And it doesn't like what you're doing, and it doesn't like what I'm doing. Okay. And your mistaken identity for some of you is very strong. Now, it's not stronger than me. I'm way stronger than your mistaken identity. Okay. And if I talk to you, I always win the argument. And you'll argue with me and you'll fight me, but you're always wrong because generally you're coming from your mistaken identity. When the truth comes out, I was talking to somebody yesterday, the other day, they were talking about their story. And I said to him, he's in business. And I said, do you know what insider language is? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, like the industry you're in, you have what's called industry language. You know, if you're in the technology business, you have technical knowledge, technical language. We use, you know, insider or industry language. You know, I said your whole story is just a bunch of insider language. I don't really. It was all very surface. I said, why don't you tell me the truth? And he laughed. And then he told me the truth, because the first part of his story was all just a bunch of fluff and crap. He wasn't really telling me what was really going on. And then we got to the truth, and then we were able to shift it fairly quickly. But he goes, man, oh man, am I ever feeling resistance? Right? And so just be aware that you're being pulled towards the positive polarity. Okay? You're being pulled towards truth. There's good in you. You're created in the image of God. You're absolutely perfect the way you were created. There's nobody like you. You have goals, desires, pursuits, you know, passions. That's the pull towards the light, the truth of who you are, right? And then there's a pull to the opposite pole. It's called the law of polarity, right? And so you have to realize you're in a tug of war. You're being pulled towards the truth and the light, and you're being pulled away from it at the same time. It's equal and opposite. And the more you pursue the truth, the more you're pulled. And so I'm under a lot of tension right now. Like I was saying this morning, like I can really feel my physical state. Like I am really tense. Now I'm doing I'm meditating and I'm going to bed and I'm resting but you know, April 4th is coming, man. And I got some tension, right? It's pulling me, but I'm still going for it. I'm still pursuing. I'm still going ahead. But the enemy's really I feel like I got this big, thick rope around me, and it's got all this weight attached to it, and I'm trying to get up the mountain. I gotta rest. And that's what's happening. So just be aware that the more you pursue the truth, the more resistance there's going to be, but the stronger you get. Okay. And you never get away from the resistance other than staying in the comfort zone and hiding. But it's a son of a bitch because you're always pulled towards the truth. And then you start shooting on yourself because you're not following the truth. And then you feel the tension and you go back to the comfort zone, and then you shoot on yourself again. So either way, you're going to probably shit on yourself a little bit. Just keep going forward and just recognize what the tension is. Chapter 17 was called Meeting God. And I tell the story about this guided meditation I had. I had these people that work for me and said, oh, you got to go through this guided meditation. It's amazing. I go, I'm not doing a frigging guided meditation. I mean, all that woohoo bullshit. Like I'm not doing any guided meditation. No, you really should do it. Like it's really cool. And you should have them come speak at your seminars, you know? So I was doing seminars every couple of weeks and in Guelph, Ontario, and I have a room full of people and they come in and the clients would come and all that. And they were clients. So and they were good clients. So I felt this obligation. All right, I'll do the guided meditation. So we go to this park and, you know, we set this picnic bench and they said, all right, we're going to start. I go, oh yeah, this should be freaking good. And I'm just, you know, inside I'm going, this is bullshit. And so they start talking me through the guided meditation, and they go, are you connecting with your higher self? I go, how the hell would I know? I don't know. And I had my eyes closed, I'm very uncomfortable. I just go, this is bullshit. And they said, open your eyes for a second. So I open my eyes. They go, just pick a spot on the picnic table and just stare at it. And so I did. And then all of a sudden, it's over. What felt like a long time, though, was, and I tell the story about being on a beach, like in the scene from the movie Contact. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. It's an amazing film. It's one of my favorites. I watch it over and over. Anyway, Jodie Foster goes walking down the beach, and this alien-like sinewy figure walks down the beach to greet her in the form of her father. Her father had died when she was young. And I come out of that meditation. And so for me, I was on the beach, and this figure appears and gives me a message. And for me, in that, it was so vivid, it was so clear. It was God talking to me, and God said, Doug, I am going to give you the keys to change the world with your voice and your words. And I come out of the guided meditation, and they go, what happened? And I said, I can't tell you. And they go, you can't tell us, or you won't? I said, I won't. I refuse. They go, can you write it down? I said, I can write it down. And as I wrote it down, I just started weeping. Anyway, that's the story. It's one of the many times that God has showed up. God showed up when Eden was born, and I'm getting all these messages. And then where we ended today, which is chapter 18, the note. And so I'm in a coffee shop, and maybe if you watched the video, you heard the story. And somebody walks up, just gives me this. It's actually in my bedroom. Gives me just a piece of notepad paper on some pharmacy notepad. And she goes, excuse me, I'm supposed to give this to you. I don't want anything. I don't want you to think I'm weird, but I was over there getting a coffee, and God told me to write you this note. I'm going, okay, this should be freaking good. And I take the note and I read it, and boom, it just went right through me, because I was having these conversations and I was asking these questions. And anyway, I wanted to put some of this into the book. The publisher said, like, is this a book for like a Christian bookstore? I go, no, it's not about religion or anything like that. But I really do believe that God was missing in me. I felt I was pursuing something. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was pursuing goals, pursuing success, pursuing money, pursuing love. And I was pursuing all things, but what I was really pursuing was that feeling that was in me. And I didn't know what it was, but there was a feeling there. And I kept, what is it? What is it? What is it? And I now believe that was the spirit in me. And so I have conversation with God all the time. I'm not a religious person. In fact, I'm irreligious. But I do believe in spirit, in God. And, I say in the book, whether you like it or not, I was reluctant to whether I put in the book. I'm not screw it. I'm putting in the book because I don't give a shit what you think. I believe now that if you don't believe in God, you're either ignorant like I was, you're hurt, you're lost, you're angry. Something happened that caused you not to believe in the Creator. Now, you don't have to believe in God if you don't want to. That's fine. But I tell you, it had a profound change in my life. And I have a conversation all the time, throughout the day. And it seems to be working. So you might want to meet God and see what he has to say about you. I don't know, you might like him. Who knows? Anyway, that's where we're at. We're up until the note today. Tomorrow's chapter 19. Why don't you love me? Which is another great chapter. So let's have a little conversation, shall we? What's going on with you? This is called an observational trial. So we're supposed to be observing things that are happening. And since it's my trial, I'm supposed to get the observations. So it's not like you're in a clinic and I get to hook you up and, observe you and put you on camera and talk to you every day. But since it's my observational trial, I have a right to collect the data, which means you have to provide some data for me. And I would love to just hear from you, and if I can help in any way, if the book is disturbing you or challenging you or freeing you or whatever it's doing. And I encourage you, As I said, just stay with it. There's a process in this. I laid this out a certain way. And it's a way that I pieced together as I went along. And so I've done it in a certain order, and I'm doing certain things, and I'm disturbing you and disrupting you with certain things, challenging what you believe and what you think. And I might be creating some conflict for you. And that's a good sign. You want to pay attention to why there's conflict. Definitely don't think there's something wrong with you. That's not what it is. Okay. You gotta get rid of that chapter. What's wrong with me? If you got to keep reading that chapter over and over, you got to get this straight. There's nothing wrong with you. All right. There's just something wrong with what you believe or some idea you're locked into that's creating the conflict. So, Amanda, you're first. You got your hand up. Amanda's going to get us going. It's always got to be one person to get us started. Everybody else gets sunshine, raises their hand. All right.
Hi, Doug. Hey.
Hey.
My question is about perception and inner wisdom and guidance from inside or from the higher source. So how do I know when I use my perception and when I'm being guided? Is there any difference between those two?
Yeah. Let's say you're inside your house and you can't see outside, but you can hear your senses. How do you know when it's raining heavily outside, but you can't see that it's raining? How do you know?
I listen.
You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
And so, you hear the raindrops on the roof and you go, wow, it's really raining. I go, no, it's not. You go, yes, it is. I go, no, it's not. I can't. How do you know it's raining? You just know it's raining. Okay. You just know. Now, listen, I remember Bob, one time we were talking about this and I heard it in a lesson. I was asking about it. He said, one of the problems people have in strengthening their intuition. So all of you have intuition. Okay. We all have intuition. We have imagination, but we have to develop it. We have to strengthen it. Okay. He said, one of the problems with people not listening to their intuition is they ask questions, but they don't listen. It's like prayer. They pray and then they go to work or something. Like if you're going to ask for guidance, you have to wait around for the answer. You got to take some time and listen, right? One way to develop your intuition, and this is something I did with Bob, he said, Doug, whenever you think of somebody that comes to mind and you get a strong feeling where you begin to think about them, they come to mind and then you think about them, phone them. He said, I'll bet you any money they're thinking about you. So I started to do that. And I'd phone people. I remember my friend Jay, he's a close friend, and I phoned him up. In fact, I thought of Heather actually first, who I met through Jay. I thought of this Heather person. And so I phoned her first, got her voicemail, and she made me think of Jay because they're friends. And so then I phoned both of them, got both their voicemails. About 8:15 in the morning, I was driving my daughter to school. About 8:45, Jay phones me up and he goes, hey, how you doing? He goes, what's up? I said, well, I was just thinking about you and I'm just practicing developing my intuition. Were you thinking about me? He goes, well, I got your voicemail. What time was it when you phoned me? I said, it was about 8:15. He said, well, isn't that interesting? He said, I was walking Jackson, his son, I was walking Jackson to school through the forest and I was praying for you. You were praying for me? Yeah, I was praying for you. And it was about 8:15 a.m. Right around the time I was thinking about him, he was praying for me on a walk with his kid to school. And I go, wow, this shit works, And so I started developing it, right? And so what you got to do is you got to develop it and then you test it. And so with working with people, I would say, Amanda, listen, I might be off track here. But my intuition is telling me something. Now, I might be completely off track. If I am, just forget I ever said it. And then I would ask you something and you go, you're right on track, Doug. Right. And so I think we just know But I think there's these other dominating forces working against us, which second guessing ourselves, not believing in ourselves, worrying what people are going to think or what they're going to say or do or whatever. But if you can put all that aside for a second, go, it's raining outside. I know it is. You have a knowing.
Yeah, that's as older I get, I just have this knowing, and it's getting bigger and brighter and
Sure.
cleaner, and I just know it. But it's not always that I allow myself to trust in it. Sometimes I second guess it, but it's always
Yeah,
right.
but at least you're observing and paying attention, and so you also learn when you don't trust it. My intuition was on track. I should have trusted it. Now, don't give yourself a hard time that you didn't, right? But you're an observer. If I hung around with you for a month, I would have a pretty good idea of what you're like. I'd be observing you, right? And I'd be able to give you some feedback. Man, I wouldn't, if I were you, if you want to get better results in this area, I probably would do this a bit different, right? And so you have to be an observer of yourself, this ego, false self, this person that makes all this crap up. Observer, right? And observe your intuition and how it works. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I know you want to put your hand up, so put your hand up. Don't be shy. Just put your hand up. Come on. Hello? All right. Well, I'll just wait. I'm just going to read my book while you guys muster up the courage to share something with me. What chapter should I read? Don't make stuff up.
Doug, I have one question. One more question. It's about mistaken identity. And I was wondering if when you get aware of it and when you really know what the mistaken identity is, do you get rid of it forever? Or will this identity come back to you sometimes and go? And how does it? Yeah. Will you? Yeah. Did you get the question?
No, it's listen. It's part of you. Okay. You just the real you becomes stronger. Okay. And like I call it your cellmate. Michael Singer wrote a beautiful book called The Untethered Soul. He said, untie your soul from your false self, the ego self. He called it your inner roommate. Okay. So she's always with you, Amanda. She never goes away. Right. But we've all probably had roommates in our life. You just don't give her much attention anymore. Sometimes she says some stupid stuff and she thinks some things, and you'll be making dinner and she'll go, Amanda, what are you thinking? And so it never goes away. You just learn to live with them. But the true self, the authentic self, is stronger. It's pure. It's on track. It's filled with integrity. And so like mine is very strong, but not as strong as me anymore, right? But I also treat him with grace and with kindness, and I don't judge him. I kind of laugh at him. And I go, I can't believe you're saying that, Doug. Like, come on, And that was the whole lighten up, smarten up kind of thing. Getting tough with myself. Enough is enough. I just got strong enough that it doesn't take me down anymore. Last night I was relaxed on the couch and a memory came up. And in the past, that memory would have triggered some emotion and some anger and some guilt. And it was a memory. It was like a cloud. It just passed by. Where the old me would have sat and stewed with it or ruminate or something like that. So yeah, the old paradigm doesn't go away, especially, the older you are, the stronger it is. You just learn to live with it. And you become your true self. So, because I think too many people are trying to get rid of this old person. I wouldn't, that's not letting go. That's forcing somebody out of your life. You know? And this, listen, you, me, all of us, he did some good in my life. You know, he helped me do some good things. And so I give him some credit too. I mean, he's not just a complete piece of shit like I thought it was. You know, he was a piece of shit in some respects, but not completely. So no, she'll always be with you. Yeah. Corey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
So like as you were saying before, where you were sharing that, this is making me feel very uncomfortable. I don't like it at all, but I know it's necessary. It's kind of like someone who, when I would go to the chiropractor, because of my shoulders are pretty large, I hunch over at times, and she would tell me, move your shoulder back, and it was very uncomfortable.
Right.
But doing that, I have better posture in the long end, but doing the exercises felt very uncomfortable. And I feel like this is where I'm at right now. So I'm going to keep with it, do as you're saying, but I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've just been taught to believe that we have to protect our emotions. Okay. We're very protective of our feelings and our emotions.
Yeah.
And we don't like when we don't feel good, and we definitely don't like to tell people that we don't feel good. We want to make it like we got it all together. How you doing, Corey? I'm great, Doug. You're such a liar, you know? And the unfortunate thing is when we have this conflict, and it stirs the emotions, and it stirs up the ego, and stirs up this sleeping bear, this mistaken identity. It stirs up some things, and unfortunately, it shows up in our physical state, and we don't like it. Now, anybody that works out or goes to the gym, you have no problem. I love when I first go back to the gym because I'm sore. Like my muscles are sore, and I try to train harder because I like the feeling of being sore. And whenever if I ever go back to the gym, if I stop and I start doing squats, I can't freaking walk for 3 days. It feels like my, it's painful. They're called growing pains. My muscles are growing. So I just changed my perception on what was happening. And it was actually, I gave Michael Singer in that book, Untethered Soul, credit, because it was very logical. He said, as humans, we have a built-in fight or flight built into us. Our amygdala kicks in when there's danger. Well, we don't really have a lot of physical danger in our life. Some parts of the world do, but you and I here in Canada or in North America, there's not many places in North America where when you walk out the door, you're worried about dying. Okay? There's no real risk. So what we did as a society is we transferred that fight or flight because there's no longer a physical threat to us. So what did we do? We transferred the fight or flight to our emotions. And so we either run and hide or we put up a fight when we feel our emotions are threatened. Well, our emotions aren't threatened. You think they are because somebody says something and hurts your feelings, right? Somebody does something and makes you angry, And we've just been trained to do this too. It's ridiculous. It really is. I was being ridiculous. And when he said that, I go, this is bullshit. I have nothing to be afraid of. Now, do I get afraid sometimes still? Yes. But I remind myself, I got, like that story I just told you about the AIDS thing. I'd be really embarrassed to even admit that I was thinking I had AIDS. They go, he probably did have AIDS, Like, I just keep getting myself to a point where, what do I have to protect myself from? In order to get this book out there, I had to really adopt that because I'm already got people coming at me with this, but I'm friggin' ready, man. And I have nothing to fear, but we don't like the feeling and how fear presents itself in our physical state. And our default response, there must be something wrong. There's nothing wrong. When I come from the gym after doing squats, And, the next day I'm stiff and sore. Is anything wrong? No, my muscles are growing. I remember when I was a little boy, 8, 9, 10 years old. I forget the age. I was young. I can see my bedroom. I had these racing car pajamas and racing car bedspread and pillowcases. And I remember wailing, "Mommy, mommy, what's wrong? What is it? And the back of my legs behind my knee, the pain, oh my God. Like I was yelling in pain. It's okay, honey. They're growing pains. It's okay, Corey. I'm not going to call you honey. It's okay, Corey. They're growing pains. You're okay. You're not at risk. There is no threat. You have nothing to worry about. You're fine. Everything's going to be okay."
Okay, so then is that the chapter for today? Would that be relation to my fear? So the letter I was writing to was Shalene, the letter from God, just to let them know how wonderful they are. And it was cloudy this morning. I'm sitting right here in the office and I'm writing out the letter and I feel like it's coming through me, and the sun came out and just it started pouring out, and I finished it. I was like, this is fucking good. And then all of a sudden, if you give this to Shalene, what is she gonna say? And do I have that fear of that spiritual connection that I'm opening up, like, and just thinking about it, my hands are getting all sweaty. Is that the same thing that we're talking about?
Well, what do you think?
Yes.
What are you asking me for?
I'm looking for confirmation, which my intuition was already saying hi. Say hi to Uncle Doug.
Hi, honey. How you doing? You got nothing to say? Hello? Hi.
Oh.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
That's good. Yeah, you're right on track, Corey. And listen, has anybody read The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis? No? This is the book. It's called The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis. Anybody know who C.S. Lewis is? Narnia movies. Okay. C.S. Lewis was an atheist. He set out to prove that God did not exist. He became one of the most prolific Christian writers of all time. He made the Narnia movies. I was reading a book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. And where Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, he interviews the devil, and the devil agrees to share all of his tactics with Napoleon Hill on how the devil keeps people drifting away from their definite purpose in life. And I was reading that book. I've met it a bunch of times. I was loving it. And I was having breakfast with my friend Jay and Brent. I go, dude, you gotta read this Outwitting the Devil. Oh my God! And so these are my Christian friends. Those damn Christians, these Christian friends of mine. And I'm going, you gotta read this book. Oh my God! And Jay interrupts. He goes, "You ever read The Screw Tape Letters?" I go, "No." He said, "Well, you should go get that book." He said, "I think you really like it." So Jay was always a good mentor to me. So I went and got the book right away, and I opened up the book. And so basically, Uncle Screwtape is a demon. And these letters, every chapter is a letter where Uncle Screwtape writes a letter to his nephew, Wormwood is his name. My dear Wormwood. And each letter is Uncle Screwtape mentoring Wormwood, who's also a demon, on how to keep his patient, the human, away from the enemy, who's God. And so Screwtape is mentoring Wormwood on how to keep his patient out of relationship with God. And every letter is a strategy. One letter is, let's introduce him to a bunch of women. Let's get him dating a bunch of women. Okay. Let's get him going to different church denominations. Let's get him to go to all these different. Every letter is a way to keep the person distracted away from God. That was the basis of the book. And I'm reading this and go, oh my God. And I was recognizing how I was being played. You know, some demon was freaking manipulating me and playing me, you know? And so that's what's happening. We get played by the enemy. Now, you don't believe in God. So in Christianity, it would be called the enemy. In psychology, I call it ego or your false self. And so you get your mistaken identity. It plays you. Like Amanda asked earlier, does she ever go away? No. She plays you all the time, manipulates the hell out of you. Right. So I became aware of this, Corey. I became aware. So now whenever, you know, I'm making shit up in my head and or my emotions kick in or something hooks my attention and it doesn't feel good, I know what's going on. So I'm aware. Right? And so do I let it happen for very long? Absolutely not. I put my foot down and go, get out of here. Leave me alone. No matter what you say and do, I'm going ahead. You are not stopping me. Take that, you. So I have this dialogue, right? I figure if God's talking to me, I probably need to talk back to the enemy too. So, yeah, go ahead.
So in chapter 15, one of the action questions, I'm looking for a little bit more clarity on it. And I was eating food. Healthy food. One moment, okay? It says, what do you need to ask to find out if you're on the right track or off track?
Right.
And I got a little stuck with that regarding what type of questions to ask. Can you give them some examples of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a basic example. The story of, you know, my girlfriend. I ran this runaway train, had me thinking that, you know, I was sick and she was sick, right? And so you ask questions, right? And so what we do is we make up assumptions, and our assumptions trigger our imagination. And our imagination creates this whole scene. And so rather than doing that, if you feel like something's off track in your life, okay, or something's not going well, and you don't have all the facts, you're making some assumptions, you're coming to conclusion. Well, she probably is thinking this, or he'll likely do that, or it was probably this, or it was probably that. Don't make up stuff. Have the courage to go, Corey, can I ask you a question? You know, and it's very fun and freeing when you tell the truth and you get to see how silly you're being. And you demonstrate that with somebody else because you also free them from the same problem. And you go, Shalene, can I ask you a couple questions? I've been making some stuff up in my head. And I feel like I'm off track. I don't know if I'm on track or off track. Can I just ask you a couple of questions? You know, don't take it personally, please. I might be off track. So if I'm off track, just ignore me. But, you know, I learned something about myself. I'm the sort of person when I'm problem solving, I need to talk it out. So I need to verbalize it, right? To organize it. It's kind of like puking. I got to puke it all up. And I look on the table like, oh, there, like I can see what's making me sick, you know? And some people in my life, they couldn't handle that because I was just exploring potentialities or problems. And if I said something about them, there was just simply a possibility. It wasn't a fact. It would trigger them. So now what I do, I warn people, I go, listen, and I just, you know, listen, I'm sort of the sort of person, in order to solve problems, I need to explore. Don't take anything personally I say. I might be off track. It's just a thought. Just don't put any energy into it. But let me explore to help me get to clarity. And so I would preface it, you know, somehow. But you're just trying to gather information to get the facts so you know what's really going on. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, no problem. Mr. Vo with the cool glasses in Australia. How you doing?
Hi, Doc.
Hey.
Awesome. I want to release some resentments. These emotions are caused by some pretty close people in my life. They relative, and in the past few years, I blocked them out. Right. So I've been doing pretty well, and about a year ago, they come back because I let them in due to something. I have to let them in again, and I've been learning how to deal with it. It's on and off, but I realized that they're not going away.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So let me ask you a couple questions. Are they doing something wrong to you and mistreating you, or is their words, thoughts, feelings, and actions triggering something in you?
I think they did something wrong by me.
You feel they're doing something wrong by you?
Yeah. They in the past they did something wrong, and I blocked them
In the past.
off. Blocked them in the past.
In the past. Okay.
And and now I don't really want to have anything to deal with them.
Right.
Because number one, I'm self-reliant financially.
Right.
I can do things on my own.
Right.
And
we talking about parents?
Yeah. Hey.
Are we talking about parents?
That's that's one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, parents are funny creatures, you know. They don't like to abdicate responsibility. They like to keep feeling like they're responsible because then it makes them feel good about themselves. You know, they want to make decisions. They want to give you advice. They want to tell you what they think you should do. They make you feel guilty if you don't hang around with them or stay in touch with them, or anything like that. You know, they're funny that way. I made my mind up that I refused to ever put that on my daughter. I told her at a very young age, I said, I will never put any expectations on you or any guilt on you. You'll never have to worry about whether you should come see me or, I joke on Father's Day. I don't generally see her on Father's Day. I don't really care about Father's Day. You know, it's not like an important holiday to me or something, you know? So parents are funny that way, right? And just real quick, I think if you're a parent, anybody's a parent, as soon as you possibly can, you should stop being responsible for your children. Corey's got a young child. He's responsible for her. Feed her, clothe her, take care of her, guide her, keep her as safe as he can, figure out who she is, help her become that person, But she's going to get to a point fairly soon where she can start making her own decisions. Right now, she should be deciding on her own what she's wearing by this time. Now, mom's not going to like that because mom's busy and has got to get the hell out of the house because she's in a rush. Come on, just put this on, damn it. And then we lay out 3 outfits and try to get them to pick. We want to get kids making decisions as fast as we can. And don't do anything for your child that they could do on their own. I talk to parents all the time, and they're talking about their kids and they're making meals and doing their laundry. And I always go, how old are your children? 16, 18, 24. I go, what the hell are you doing? You're not responsible for them anymore. Get them to make their own friggin' meals, right? I've been making my meals since I was 12. If I can do it, they can do it, But parents they don't like to abdicate responsibility. They want to feel important, and so, I don't know what that's resonating with you, but, on the other hand, you gotta be grateful for them too. I mean, hell, you wouldn't be here without them, number one. That's kind of cool, right? And forgive them for they know not what they do. Learn from them to become a better parent yourself. And you don't take it personally. And if something happened in the past, well, that's on you then, my friend. because it's in the past. Listen, there's things that you've done in your past that some people would still not like that you did it to them in the past. But you're not that guy anymore. You're a different person. You've grown. You're a good person. You're a father. You know, and you got a young son, right? Son, daughter?
Yeah, 3 months old.
All right. Well, here come the parents. You know, they like to tell you how you should, you know, take care of your children too. They're funny that way, you know. But just listen. If something from the past is bugging you, that's on you. I'd have a conversation with them. Like, be the adult. You be the parent. Listen, you're going to be parenting them anyway, because they're going to get sick and they're going to be drooling. You're going to put them into a hospital, and you know, life. It all comes around. They become the children, and you become the parent, and then they die, and then your child. It's like a perpetuating cycle. So get used to it.
So I'm getting better.
Yeah.
So there is another one, which is, you know, the sister of my wife.
Yes.
I mean, we used to live together, but we moved out and did something really wrong. But anyway, I decided to block her out. We decided to block her out of our life.
Yeah.
But now she's coming back because of other commitments.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we think of her or that name come up, it really bothers me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the past
Yeah.
came up and this anger. So how can I release, and God say, hey, you know, forgive, you know, I give you $10, so now you're chasing the dollar of someone, you know what I mean? That sort of emotions.
Well, I don't know. I think I have a few thoughts on that. Number one, don't forget all of your beliefs around family are made up beliefs. Okay. All your family beliefs, you're all over the world here, folks. All of you have different beliefs as it relates to family, as it relates to fatherhood, motherhood, raising. You all have different beliefs, and they're all made up by other people that you inherited. Okay. So get that straight. I think just because somebody is family, it doesn't mean I need to hang around with them. I don't buy into that. Well, they're family. I don't give a shit if they're family. Like, if they're not nice to me, why would I hang around with people that I don't like? I don't care if I'm related by blood, but that's a paradigm, right? I just chose, and I'm not saying you should do that. That's my paradigm. I just choose to operate that way. But also, listen, we gotta look deeper than our own hurts, and we gotta just use some grace and understanding and be the bigger person. I was going to put something in. I didn't drop in the chat. I'll drop it in. I have a little message that Bob gave me. It's on a cocktail napkin. I was sitting in the plane, and somebody came up that had worked for me. They had written something down that Bob had said and put on a cocktail napkin and handed it to me. And we have to remember who we are. And so it said, we think of ourselves as human beings searching for a spiritual awakening, when in fact, you're actually a spiritual being attempting to cope with a human awakening. Seeing yourself from the spirit and what you came here to do is a better way to live. So what I'm saying is, Tim, why don't you operate from a higher level of awareness? Because you are aware, you have the tools, you're aware. And a spiritual being would treat a human being much differently. And so be the bigger person. And, you know, like, I think sometimes the things that we think people do to us, it's not that big a deal. You know, it's only a big a deal because it triggers our emotions. But it's very rare that anybody in your life does something to really hurt you. You know, they hurt your feelings, but they don't physically hurt you. Like your sister doesn't come in, your sister doesn't come in and start, throwing knives at you. If you do, you probably should call the police, but she's not hurting you. She's hurting your feelings, and you're letting that happen. And you're judging. You don't know what's going on for her. You should probably find out. Listen, everybody just wants to be understood. Everybody just wants to be cared for. Everybody just wants to feel like they're important. Right? So make her feel like she's the most important person. What's that? Kill them with kindness. Isn't that what they say? Kill the enemy with kindness. I got people.
I'm hearing the message, be a bigger person.
Well, you are a bigger person. You don't have to be it. You already are a bigger person. Just act like one. Like, grow up. That's it. Just like, so I have an affirmation. Some of you have heard me say it. I say it every day. I read it every day. I just practice acting like Jesus and loving like Jesus. What I've learned about him from his story and what little I've seen and, different things I've read in movies and things, I like the way the guy operated. He just purely just came from love, no judgment. And I've seen this morning about somebody who was giving me a hard time. And I remember seeing in a movie I saw, it was called The Son of God. The actor was amazing to play Jesus. And, the scene where they were going to, the Pharisees and the people in the village were going to stone the prostitute. And Jesus intervenes and says, hey, he picks up a stone and goes, he who hath not sinned, cast the first stone. In other words, if you've not sinned, go ahead and throw the stone and stone the prostitute. Well, they all dropped their stones because they all sinned. Right? I just like the way the guy acted. I think he'd be a good mentor to follow. So I just keep trying to practice acting like him and loving like him. And so it doesn't have to be Jesus, but what would somebody like Jesus do in the case of your sister? So imagine Jesus is out in the living room right now. Your sister drops by, you get off this call, Jesus there, your sister walks in. What do you think he would say and do? Or what would he say to you? Hey, Tim, come here for a second. Let me give you some advice. Here's what I think you should do. What would he say? Act like that. What are you laughing at?
I don't know. Just got that subtle shift.
What?
Just got a shift. I can't say it. Yeah. It's funny.
What do you mean? What? Tell us.
Yeah, Jesus.
He's laughing because he's uncomfortable. Corey, you think you're uncomfortable? Tim's on the hot seat now, baby. What's the shift? Try to explain it.
Yeah, Jesus say, hey, it's small stuff. Just let it drop. Just drop it.
Drop it, man. I often will talk to parents. They're struggling with, their young people in their life, their children or their adult children. I said, let's get together, but we're all going to get together at the same time. I want to hear both sides of the story at the same time. Well, usually most of the time I'm giving the parents shit. The parents need their knuckles wrapped. You hear that when you're a kid, you need your knuckles wrapped? They need their knuckles wrapped. But I also wrap the knuckles of the kid too, because the kid's being a dick, they're being assholes. And we'd have this conversation. And if I'm talking to the parents alone ever, I say, I want you to go home and I want you to apologize to your children. Sit them down. I want you to apologize to them. Lay it all out, lay the whole story out, and just apologize. It's very powerful. I learned that when Eden was in Montessori. She was 4 years old. And I learned it from the director of the Montessori. I thought it was a brilliant idea. She goes, listen, you're going to make mistakes as a parent. When you make a mistake, don't give yourself a hard time. Just sit your child down, even at Eden's age, 4 years old, and apologize. So I just keep apologizing every time I screwed up. I screwed up a lot in the beginning. And it wasn't, and it was genuine. It was a genuine apology. My daughter never said, "Oh, Dad, you always say you're sorry. You don't really mean it." I really meant it. So just go apologize to your sister. And I need to apologize. Take full responsibility. That's what Bob said to me one day. I'm sitting down in his office, and I tell him, what was going on. Something was going on in the company, and people were working against me and caused me problems, talking by my hand. They were very manipulative, and I was really being played. And I was, I could go to Bob, and he'd listen, and I let it all out. And he goes, "Doug," he looks me square in the eye. He goes, "It's all your fault." I go, "What?" "It's all your fault." "What do you mean it's my fault?" He goes, "Well, you're taking all this on." He goes, "You're causing all your problems." He said, "I want you to go apologize to those people." And so I did. I phoned out right away. And I said, "Hey guys, I just came from me with Bob." And, he said something. "We've been having some problems, and it's all my fault." And I was genuine. I'm responsible. I take full responsibility, and I apologize for the situation. I was free, baby. And they never bothered me again. Go sit down and go, "Whatever it is, listen, can I talk to you? I owe you an apology." And lay it all out. And be really genuine. It's very powerful. It's very freeing. And it's strengthening, and it's a beautiful thing to do. Try it. You'll love it.
What I look, so at the moment I see myself not doing anything wrong by the sister-in-law, but we see her doing things wrong by us, meaning that she stole the money. Why do I have to apologize to her? If to free us, or can I just cut her off and let her go and drop it?
Well, she's not stealing from you. Think about that. First up, number one, it's not your money. Okay?
Okay.
Get that straight. You're a custodian of that money. The money comes to you because you provide service. You take that money and you give it to other people to provide service. Okay? It's not your money. She's not stealing it. She's taking it from you. There's some reason she's doing that. Help her so she doesn't have to do that anymore, because she might get herself in real trouble. Forgive her. Yes, it's only money anyway. I stole a lot of money from my brother. When he was a saver, I was a spender. I would sneak into his room and I would steal money out of his piggy bank. When my dad passed away, I got my dad's credit card, a MasterCard, and I racked up about $7,000 on the credit card. I couldn't pay. The credit card company starts phoning my mom, because it was in my mom's name too. And the credit card, I couldn't pay it. And I made up some story that my dad gave me permission to use his credit card. Well, he didn't give me permission. I lied. I was really doing some stupid things, but it's no wonder because of where I came from. So something is causing her to do that. Become an earnest investigator with a heart to help. You might save her life. It's only money anyway, cripes. Start leaving the money out. Right? Easy come, easy go, man. Don't worry. She feels bad about it. You don't have to worry about making her feel bad. She already feels bad about it. Tim?
Drop it.
You're a spiritual being. You're gifted with an intellect, and you're living in a physical body. Act accordingly.
Thank you, Doug.
Buddy. Mika, this is good, huh? Is this good? You guys are obviously sticking around for some reason. I don't know what you got nothing else to do. Better than Netflix, right? All right, Linda, what's up? Can I ask you guys a question? Is my viewpoint out to lunch?
Is what?
Is my viewpoint, like some of the things I'm saying, is it out to lunch? Are you guys going, this guy's freaking whacked? Or is it making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense, but there's a lot of jaw, what mic dropping moments, you know. So it's like, so yeah, so you're making sense. I mean, like just what you said there, become an earnest investigator with a heart to help. I mean, like how to reflect on that, you know, bring that away with me and think about that and how I'm going to apply that.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of stuff that you're saying that will need reflection on, but it's hitting. Yeah, it's hitting.
Yeah.
I think it's hitting, but it's hitting me. I'm kind of being hit by it. So yeah. One of the things that I was going to ask Doug is conflict.
Yeah.
So I've always avoided conflict. Just the way that I was reared, what I witnessed, never thought it was a good thing. And I suppose part of me is in conflict with regards to God. I struggled quite a lot to even say God. Probably that word became sayable.
Can I just forgive me for interrupting. I don't like to do this sometimes, but I just want to get an idea straight. Okay. None of you are uncomfortable with God. You're uncomfortable with religion.
Yeah.
God has nothing to do with religion. Just so we're clear. Okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I get that. Yeah. I get that now, but for a long time, it was the word, what it stood for, what it represented.
Yeah.
And in its representation, you know, I would have had a lot of issues around what I would have saw and witnessed, and not wanting to be part of the holy crowd.
Right.
Yeah. So so when I was introduced to meditation back in 2010, it was a complete opening up for me for a different place. So a lot of what I work with now and what I do is in that space of energy and love energy vibration. But the conflict is still there. It's huge conflict. Like, you know, it's to move into that space to want to say God, you know, to actually give freedom to that word, you know, to be walking down the beach and go on camera and say, yeah, like, as you're doing, as easy as that. I mean, you know. Yeah.
Well, I can relate to the discomfort around, you know, the word and the dialogue and the conversation. I remember my friend Jay, when we first started helping me. So he was a client of mine. And I was coaching on mindset, and he built this beautiful business. And then he's the guy that introduced me to God. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. And he introduced me to Jesus and God. And we first started getting together. I just fell in love with this guy. Jay, I mean, and he said, "Can we pray? We're at a restaurant." I don't want to freaking pray. Are you kidding? He's, "I'm going to pray for you, Doug." So here he is praying out loud.
I would struggle. Yeah.
Right. And he's not like what people call these Bible thumpers or whatever these labels they give you, you know. I have another friend of mine, Pete, who's in the book. Jay's mentioned the book. And Pete, you know, he would, you know, pray for Doug, you know. It was like maybe so. And then he, you know, we got together every Tuesday for dinner, and he started making me read from the Bible, right? Out loud. Oh my God. Anyway, I understand the discomfort, you know. How about maybe God is creating some conflict in you, stirring things up a little bit. Hey, Linda, let me just mix shit up here a little bit for you. Well, if you believe in the story of Jesus, that's what he did, right? He shows up and he starts challenging the Pharisees and religion. Like Jesus was not about religion, but he was irreligious. He was trying to throw out all the Old Testament. It's a new day, folks. You're forgiven. all your sins are forgiven, and I'm going to die on the cross, and I'm going to leave my spirit behind in you, and you're forgiven, not just today, but ongoing. So the conflict, I think the conflict's good. I think conflict is good. I don't like how it feels sometimes, but I do like what the conflict presents to me. It presents an opportunity for me to learn. It presents an opportunity to raise my level of awareness. I have a very high level of awareness. I'm relatively low compared to this guy behind me, but I'm developing a very high level of awareness. It doesn't make me better than anybody, but I love becoming more and more aware, because the more aware I am, the more aware I am of you, the more I can help you, right? And that's really what drives my purpose. I would sit here all night with you guys. I stay here till midnight or till I fell asleep. If I could sit here and help you some way, just change your mind, renew your mind, get you on track, right? Conflict is good. Just pivot your perception.
Yeah, okay.
But we were brought up that conflict's not good. We were taught to avoid conflict. And we saw, one of those, they're called ACEs, adverse child experiences, is witnessing violence as a child. Has a real adverse effect on us. A lot of us witnessed violence and conflict. So naturally, you'd be afraid of it because it was very scary as a little person.
Yeah.
Right? So it's natural. It's not in your nature, but it's natural that you would feel that way. And so you got to cut yourself some slack.
Yeah, I think it's the using of it as well, like where you've said to use well, am I right in that, to use conflict?
Yeah, well, listen, if I stub my toe, that's conflict. It really hurts. Next time I should watch where I'm going so I don't stub my friggin' toe. Conflict is good. Pain is good, right? If you're an observer, right? If you're a victim, not so good.
Okay.
If you're an observer, conflict and pain is good. If you're a victim, conflict and pain ain't good.
So are you saying that if with pain, it is from the observer's perspective, that the pain is then what changes your perspective?
Well, yeah, well, think about it. So if I stub my toe, that's physical pain, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and it friggin' hurts, most of our pain, we don't really hurt ourselves physically very often. Most of our pain is emotional pain.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're feeling emotional pain, there's some conflict. You're wrapped up you're embroiled in some conflict. You believe something and they did something, or you're worried, like it's all this conflict that you're just generating, and it creates emotions, and we feel pain. And so you just have to watch Linda. Just watch her this week. See that? See the conflict coming up? Watch what she does. Here comes the conflict. See her getting uncomfortable? You see her just getting anger, and you can see her like observe her, right? And by observing her, then you can take care of her. Now, Linda, honey, can we have a little chat? I saw you talking to your husband a little while ago and your son, and you were getting really uncomfortable. What was going on? And you have this little dialogue because you coach people.
Yeah.
So you can have the dialogue with yourself. Now, Linda. And so now you might think I'm crazy. People might think I'm nuts because I'm talking to myself all the time, but I've gotten to be a pretty good listener and I ask pretty good questions. I'm an earnest investigator about my ego self.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he gets in a lot of trouble. And if I let him, he'll make some mistakes that I got to friggin' live with and clean up.
Okay, right. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm an observer. I'm watching him closely. Before I let him just run off and do whatever the hell he wanted. And I got into I had to clean up all the shit. He caused a lot of shit and I had to clean it all up.
Okay.
Become an observer.
Yeah. Okay. That much of an observer. Okay. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
It's fun to watch yourself. Oh man. It's fun for me to watch you guys because I get to be the observer. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question regarding, if you have somebody in your life that is clearly triggering you and pushing buttons or, well, actually, we talk about my ex-husband, right? And and it's me and my kids.
Mhm.
Or it can be my kids, not so often anymore, but it can be that. You were saying, compared to what you were saying to Tim, and from your experience with, Bob was telling you, it's your fault.
Right.
And, referring to Jesus, because Jesus turned the cheek.
Mm-hmm. You know why Jesus turned the cheek?
Would you suggest that? Sorry?
You want to know why Jesus could turn the other cheek?
Yeah, please tell me.
Because he knew who he was. Who was he?
He was me.
He was God.
Yes.
He was God.
Well, he was God and he was the other one, right? Or the other person, right? Or
Well, it's, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. God basically sent himself to earth in the form of his son, in a man.
Mhm.
So Jesus, he had no problem saying what he needed to say, doing what he needed to do because he was God. He also knew that he could create miracles because he knew who he was. That's why he could turn the other cheek, in my opinion. So,
me as an extension of God,
yes.
being a
You ever hear
spirit,
the term?
physical experience, am I going to turn my cheek?
Well, another example of turning the other cheek. So you have these buttons, right? If you turn the other way, your ex-husband won't see the buttons, and therefore he can't push them. Or if he realizes, do you ever, I don't know if in where you live, do you have doorbells where you live?
Mm-hmm.
Like a push button? Well, my doorbell in my house doesn't work right now. I got to get it fixed. You push the button, the bell doesn't ring. It doesn't make a sound. So sometimes when you stop letting things bug you, people stop pushing the button.
Well, actually, I've tried that. I've been actually in gratitude for 3 years and, aware of energy and not resisting and keep it low profile when it's coming my way, but it's still coming.
Well,
and actually, I think it triggers him more than anything.
Well, that's good. You might be helping him.
Yeah, but I want this to go away. And
well, you don't like how it feels. You don't like some of the things he's doing according to your standards. And I'm not saying what he's doing is okay. You have to have your own standards. But if you're letting somebody, when Bob says it's your fault, I was letting somebody else bother me.
I'm kind of letting him do it because
well,
I'm not resisting. I'm taking still 3.5 years later quite a lot of shit, and actually I just respond very calm, let him go through me, but still the words I hear, and I'm not judging. This is one of the things I'm learning to do, but basically just let it go.
Trust me, I'll guarantee, I'll bet you $1 million. If you keep this up, you're doing the right thing. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal.
No,
Um,
I had this dream that we could be friends, but this is not going to happen in this lifetime, maybe. Or maybe you never know, but
well,
I just wish, he would go away. That I wouldn't be having that in my life to deal with.
well, I would stop wishing that, because you're trying to control a situation. I mean, if you're going to spend any energy wishing something, there's probably better things to wish for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
I think for my kids, okay, maybe
your
it's just
listen, your kids are fine. Okay. Your only job, if any of you have not read this book, anybody that's a parent, I don't care how old your kids are, if they're adults or they're infants or whatever, you should read a book called Hold On to Your Kids. Now, you don't have to go, I'll tell you what the book is about. You don't have to go buy it, but you can buy it if you want. Basically, it's all about peer orientation. What you got to do, your sole job is staying in relationship with your children. Because in the absence of a relationship with you, they turn to their peers in the outside world for their orientation and their guidance and their direction. And they make decisions from that place. And that ain't a great place to make decisions from, especially these days. Your job is not to control them. Your job is not to feed them at a certain age. Your job is not to do their laundry. Your job is not to drive them all over the place. Your job is just to stay in relationship with them. So when they get in trouble, they come to you for advice. That's your only job. And at the age of your children, not children anymore anyways, but change that out. They're not children. They're adults. How old are they again?
well, my children are still my children,
No. That's you. If your daughter was here, she doesn't want you to call her your children. You're the mom. So. She's an adult.
I think she loves me to call her,
well,
baby, whatever.
No, I know that, but she doesn't want to be treated like a child.
No.
So if you see them as children, well, that's on her though. If you see them as children, you treat them like children. Anyway, your kids are going to be fine. They're learning some really good lessons. And as long as you stay in a relationship with them, Bob said, he said, Doug, you're not responsible for Eden. He said, you're responsible to her. I go, what do you mean? He said, you're responsible to be the best version of you that you can be as an example for your daughter, and let her choose her own path. And I've said to her many times, I said, listen, Eden, if you're not going to be in my life, I'm okay with that. I want you in my life. I love you, but I'll never make you feel guilty for forging your own path. I'm done. You're 20 years old. I'm done. Right? You're an adult. You're in university. You live in your own house. I'll help you with certain things, but my job's pretty much done. If you need help, if you need advice, if you need an ear, I'll always have your back. I'll always have your back, but you're on your own, kid. Because listen, I could die tomorrow and you are on your own. Then what are you going to do? You'll be screwed. Anyway, don't worry about the former husband. You just worry about where you're going and you become a better person, stay in a relationship with your children. Don't worry about anything. Listen, there's all kinds of negative things going around you, Sophie. You don't worry about it. It's all around us, but we don't worry about it.
Well, there are things and there are,
Well, you can argue with me all day long, Sophie.
So I just let it go and keep continuing my way this way.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Keep taking it in and just let it go through me, basically, right?
Just let it pass. Let it go through you. Yeah. Just as I know you follow Bob. Bob would quote Napoleon, and he'd say, I see only the objective, the obstacles must give way. Just focus on your objective. Your ex-husband is an obstacle, but If you just keep focusing on the objective and not worrying about the buttons he's pushing, and if he does push a button, he's doing you a favor. He's picking at a scab that still bleeds, and that's a gift. Sorry. That's my 2 cents. Doesn't mean I'm right. Listen, I'm not saying anything on here that I'm right and you're wrong. But I'm very strong-minded in my opinions. And it's my call. I have no problem saying them. You're asking, I'm going to give you my opinion, right?
No, I mean, I think it's right, but I just wish, there will be a more optimal way to deal with that and actually to be.
There is. There is a more optimum way to do it. I just told you.
Well, it's been what I'm doing, but I would.
Well, you got to get better at
to
it.
go away, and
You got to get better at it.
What?
Your way is working. It's not working well enough because you got to get better at it.
Okay.
There's another way to live that doesn't feel as very good, but what's that quote on money? The good life's expensive. There's another way to live that doesn't feel very good. It doesn't cost as much, but it isn't any good. There's another way to live, but it isn't any good. Now, if you think I'm out to lunch and this doesn't resonate with you, then just ignore my feedback.
No, I was just basically you saying keep ignoring and keep taking it in and let it go. Just don't
listen,
yourself.
I had to do the same thing. Listen, I was getting attacked a lot. And I stopped letting it bug me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the attack stopped because they knew they couldn't bug me. People bug you because they want to they push your buttons because they want the doorbell to ring. They want to get your attention. They're trying to hook your attention. And eventually, then we tell our children that, oh, don't pay any attention. Just ignore them. They'll go away. Well, it's pretty good advice.
No, and I have to say one thing that was making sense was chapter 1.
Yes.
The judging.
Yes.
And I could see that I was still judging him. And when I was hoping that things would go away and making him a better person, I was judging, of course. I was judging him, hoping he would be a better person, but who am I to say, be a better person? I'm judging him, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So that chapter 1 did help with that.
Good.
Okay.
Angie?
Hello. So
Hello.
I just had to say something back to Sophia about that because I went through a similar situation with the co-parenting where I came into his life when he was 10 months old and he's 18 now. But probably for the first 10 to 12 years, I mean, my health deteriorated. I played the victim role. How could she do this? She's horrible. She's all the stuff. And when I met Bob in 2017, that's when everything shifted for me. And like you said, it wasn't until I switched my perspective and went from gratitude. And he's like, find 25 things you're grateful for. And I laughed. I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And nope, write them down. And I started with her hands. I'm like, I hate that I like her hands, but she does have beautiful hands. And then from there, I went to, well, she takes very good care of him. I never have to worry. She almost brings him to the doctor too much. I went through all the things. And then I did a gratitude call to her. And I actually called her and when we would be in public together, like baseball games, we would do our darndest to act as much as we could that the other person was not there. I mean, we were just horrible to each other. And yeah, and it was through that it just opened up a whole new world. And I actually sold her house and helped her buy new construction, which if you had told me that before I met Bob and did all this, I would have been like, I'll give you $10 million. That's never going to happen.
Right.
Never,
Right.
never, never. And it's like you said, the more you pour into it and the more you come from gratitude, or the more you be better or you elevate, they lose the power and the control. And that's all she wanted, was to be combative. And as soon as I wouldn't be combative, everything changed.
Yeah. It's the old adage of if you want everybody to change in your life, and I didn't bring this up with Sophie, but if you want somebody to change your life, just change how you view them. If you've read the great book, The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard, he tells the story of a client who worked at a theater, and the theater manager, she was a dressmaker, costume maker, and the theater manager was treating her poorly. And he said, just change how you view them, change your attitude towards them. And you change like that. Because when you change your attitude towards somebody, you treat them differently. You don't even have to be in touch with them. You just, so like Angie, that's what gratitude does. For you to sit down and send out that energy through thought by writing that down, you thinking about it, you writing it down, that's energy. You're transmitting that energy. You don't have to even say anything to them. It gets to them, you know? And so it changes by making a list of things you're grateful for somebody, it changes your view on them. And then magically, somehow, they change. And that's the way it works. Unfortunately, we want them to change now. Like right now, you know. But that's not the way it works. All right, should we wrap up? One more, Corey? It better be good, Corey. Just kidding.
So I might be on point here, and let me know if I'm not, but I'm noticing a theme from this calls and the book is grow the fuck up. Stop letting shit get to you.
Right.
And it's really
It'd
interesting.
be a good book. You should write a book. It'd be a good book title.
Grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
When it comes to my clients and, you know, with Bob's material, if they try to even deter or say something with regarding the mindset and how the mind works and with energy and universal laws, my feet are planted on the ground. You cannot sway me at all. I am strong with that. But when it comes to something else emotional, like if a family member says something or Shalene says something or I stub my toe or I start shooting on myself. And yes, your opinion is very strong, Doug. Yeah. It's stronger than me at times. And I feel that if I just stick with this, open my mind, accept what you're stating, I feel like in that movie 300, you know, there is 30 of them against 3,000 people and all their muscles are rippling and glistening, that I stay strong, that I'm going to overcome all of these other obstacles that come across me and everything will be fine. Am I on point with that?
Yes, I think the only problem you have is, see, with your clients and people that don't really know you, you're pretty committed in your beliefs.
Absolutely.
But it's the people that know you that you're not as strong with.
How do I change that?
Well, you stop giving a shit what they think. Because the truth is, they don't really know you. They just know some of the things you've done. They have a perspective on you, and you have a perspective on them because of how they see you. Remember, your self-image is dictated. It's a circle, okay? There's 4 steps to the circle, 4 quadrants. How you see yourself determines how you act towards others. So just think about 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, okay? Mm-hmm. You're at 9 o'clock on the dial, all right? You see yourself a certain way. You go to 12 o'clock, depending on how you see yourself determines how you act towards others. How you act towards others determines how they see you. How they see you determines how they act towards you. Their action towards you determines how you see yourself. I'll send you a picture. It's called the Pygmalion effect. Right? And so And it doesn't matter where you start in the circle. So take Shalene, right? She sees you a certain way.
Mhm.
She acts towards you a certain way. And depending on how she acts towards you determines how you see yourself. And then you act that way towards her, and and around you guys go in a circle. Around, and people in marriages, they go around and they never get off. Some people say, stop this train, I got to get the hell off. And around we go. So you're just, Corey, but you just are still, and you're moving further away from it than you ever have before, but you still reference your past and people's perspective on your past. Listen, you've read the book, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff in there that a lot of people are going to be judging me. Right?
Mhm.
I don't give a shit. Because there's justification for my mistakes. But the difference is I changed. And I faced it, and I went through it, and I dealt with it, and I walked the talk, and I became a better version of myself, and I'm living proof. And you can't bring up my past and use it against me. I don't care about all this social media bullshit that goes on and cancel culture, all that shit. Away. You cannot hold my past against me. You can hold it against yourself if you want to. If it rubs you the wrong way, that's your problem. Listen, you're going to get to the point I'm talking about anyway in your life, but it might take you till your deathbed. But at one point in your life, you're going to wake up and go, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. And you'll probably die younger than you should if you spend your life worrying about it, because it causes anxiety and depression and stress, and it eats away at your body, and you disintegrate sooner. So I figured I want to be around longer for my daughter, even if she doesn't want me around. I want to be around, or I want to at least be around in case she needs me around or wants me around. So I figured I better sort this shit out. So that's what I did. That's why it's going on for you. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. And if Shalene was here, I'd be kicking her ass and go, listen, you have no right to judge Corey. And he has no right to judge you. You guys you're just hanging out together. What's a great term? A lady I dated, her daughter said, marriage is an endless sleepover with your favorite weirdo. An endless sleepover with your favorite. We just go find your favorite weirdo and have an endless sleepover.
One more.
I love that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No problem. Well, I don't know. Should we wrap up? All you got to do is hit the red button and end, and off you go. I'm not going to take it personally or anything like that. I'm in a mood today, man. I just feel like freaking fired up. Thank you. You guys made my day. All right. When will I see you again? Next Friday, we'll do a call. And again, if you can help me with get the word out about the book, join the book launch team and help some other people, I'd really appreciate that. We'll give you some more details on that. And I'm in the WhatsApp chat all the time, checking you out. Don't be shy. Help other people in there, Don't coach them. Don't give any advice. That's not what I'm saying. Just encourage people, share something that you're going through because you've seen on this call, you can relate, right? We're all pretty much suffering with the same set of problems, some more than others. So if you go, I was really, I admire the people that kind of spoke up about the whole God thing, because that's a very uncomfortable topic for most people. And so speak up a little bit, just put yourself out there. You'll help somebody. Shit, if I can do it, you can do it. All right. You'll notice that you don't have to really worry about what they're thinking, because you put some good out, you're going to get some good back. All right. Hi, Ruth. All right, everybody. I'll let you go. Talk soon. See you.